Hello, Ma'am Fanny and friends. Today we are from Group 1. We will be presenting about PSAK 201 or IAS 1. And it is about financial statement. And let us introduce our team. And my name is Widya Winarti and my friend.
And my name is Renita Johan.
Okay, next. So the table of contents from our presentation are introduction, identification of the financial statements, statement of financial position, and the fourth one is statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, and the fifth one is statement of changes in equity, and the last one is statement of cash flows.
So the first one is introduction. So the standard require particular disclosure in the statement of financial position or the statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income or in the statement of change in equity and requires disclosure of other line items either in the statements or in the notes. The second one is identification of the financial statement. So an entity shall clearly identify the financial statements and distinguish them from other information in the same published document. And IFRS apply only to financial statements. It is important that user can distinguish information that is prepared using the IFRS from other information that may be useful to user, but is not the subject of this requirement. And an entity shall clearly identify each financial statement and the notes. In addition, an entity shall display the following information prominently and repeat it when necessary for the information presented to be understandable. The A, the name of reporting entity or other means of identification, and any change in that information from the end of the preceding reporting period. The B is whether the financial statements are of an individual entity or a group of entities. C, the date of the end of the reporting period or the period covered by the set of financial statement or notes. D, the presentation currency, and the last one, E, the level of rounding used in presenting amounts in the financial statements. An entity often makes financial statement more understandable by presenting information in thousands or millions of units of the presentation currency. This is acceptable as long as the entity discloses the level of rounding. The third one is the statement of financial position. So information to be presented in the statement of financial position shall include line item that present the following amount. There are property, plant, equipment, investment property, intangible assets, financial assets, investment accounted for using the equity method, biological assets, inventories, trade and other receivable, cash and cash equivalent, the total of asset classified as held for sale and asset included in disposal group classified as held for sale, trade and other payables, provision, financial liabilities and asset for current tax, deferred tax liabilities and deferred tax asset. Liabilities include in disposal group classified as held for sale, non-controlling interest presented within equity, and issued capital and reserve attributable to owner of the parent. The next one is so in statement of financial position, an entity shall present additional line items, headings, and subtotal in the statement of financial position when such presentation is relevant to an understanding of the entity's financial position. When an entity presents subtotals in accordance with paragraph 55, so the subtotal shall A, be comprised of line item made up of amount recognized and measured in accordance with IFRS. B, be presented and labeled in a manner that makes the subtotal clear and understandable. C, be consistent from period to period. D, not be displayed with more prominence than the subtotals and totals required. The next one is for current or non-current distinction. So an entity shall present current and non-current asset and current and non-current liabilities as separate classification in its statement of financial position, except when the presentation based on liquidity provide information that is reliable and more relevant. When that exception applies, an entity shall present all assets and liabilities in order of liquidity. Whichever method of presentation is adopted, an entity shall disclose the amount expected to be recovered or settled after more than 12 months for each asset and liability line item that combines amount expected to be recovered or settled. A, no more than 12 months after the reporting period, and B, more than 12 months after the reporting period. Next one is for current asset. So an entity shall classify an asset as current when A, it expects to realize the asset or intends to sell or consume it in its normal operating cycle. B, it holds the asset primarily for the purpose of trading. C, it expects to realize the asset within 12 months after the reporting period. Or D, the asset is cash or cash equivalent unless the asset is restricted from being exchanged or used to settle a liability for at least 12 months after the reporting period. So, an entity shall classify all other assets as non-current. The standard use the term non-current to include tangible, intangible, and financial assets of a long-term nature. The next one is for current liabilities. So, current liabilities, an entity shall classify a liability as current when A, it expects to settle the liability in its normal operating cycle. B, it holds the liability primarily for the purpose of trading. C, the liability is due to be settled within 12 months after the reporting period. Or D, it doesn't have the right at the end of the reporting period to defer settlement of the liability for at least 12 months after the reporting period. And an entity shall classify all other liabilities as non-current. The last one is for information to be presented either in the statement of financial position or in the notes. So an entity shall disclose either in the statement of financial position or in the notes further subclassification of the line item presented, classified in a manner appropriate to the entity's operation. For example, A, item of property, plant and equipment are disaggregated into classes in accordance with IAS 16, and B, receivable are disaggregated into amount receivable from trade customer, receivable from related parties, prepayment, and other amounts. And inventories are disaggregated in accordance with IAS 2 inventories into classifications such as merchandise, production supplies, materials, work in progress, and finished good. And B, provision are disaggregated into provision for employee benefit and other items. And the last one, E, equity, capital, and reserve are disaggregated into various classes such as paid-in capital, share premium, and reserve. And an entity shall disclose the following either in the statement of financial position or the statement of change in equity or in the notes. There are A, for each class of share capital. There are the first one, the number of share authorized. The second is the number of share issued and fully paid and issued but not fully paid. The third one is par value per share, or that the share have no par value. The fourth one is a reconciliation of the number of share outstanding at the beginning and at the end of the period. The fifth one is the right, preference, and restriction attaching to that class, including restriction on the distribution of dividend and the repayment of capital. The sixth one is share in the entity held by the entity or by its subsidiaries or associate. And the last one, shares reserved for issue under option and contracts for the sale of shares, including terms and amount. And the last one, For B, a description of the nature and purpose of each reserve within the equity. So after that, if an entity has reclassified, we have to A, a putable financial instrument classified as an equity instrument, or B, an instrument that imposes on the entity an obligation to deliver to another party a pro rata share of the net assets of the entity only on liquidation and is classified as an equity instrument. So between the financial liabilities and equity, it shall disclose the amount reclassified into and out of each category and the timing and reason for that classification.
We will be talking about statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income. As written in the PDF of YS1, the statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, statement of comprehensive income, shall present in addition to the profit or loss and other comprehensive income sections, such as profit or loss, total other comprehensive income for the period being the total of profit or loss, and other comprehensive income. If an entity presents a separate statement of profit or loss, it doesn't present the profit or loss section in the statement presenting comprehensive income. And for the explanation is the first one is profit or loss. It shows the company's net income or loss for a period, and it is useful for assessing financial performance. And explanation about the total other comprehensive income or OCI, it includes unrealized gain or losses like asset revaluation or foreign exchange differences, and it provides a broader view of equity changes. And comprehensive income for the period is sum of profit or loss and OCI. It helps stakeholders to evaluate overall financial performance. And the separate income statement means if a separate income statement is presented, profit or loss is excluded from the comprehensive income statement. And we have to avoid duplication and ensures clarity in financial reporting. And the next one, we will be talking about statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income. As written in the PDF of JS1, an entity shall present the following items. In addition to the profit or loss and other comprehensive income sections, as allocation of profit or loss and other comprehensive income for the period. The A is profit or loss for the period attributable to non-controlling interests and owners of the parent. And B, comprehensive income for the period attributable to non-controlling interests and owners of the parent. If an entity presents profit or loss in a separate statement, it shall present A in that statement. For the explanation, other comprehensive income records unrealized gains or losses, for example, foreign exchange differences and asset revaluation. And it has two categories. A, not reclassified to profit or loss, for example, asset revaluation gains, and B, reclassified to profit or loss when eligible, for example, investment gains upon sale. And the next one is OCI from investments in associates and joint ventures. It has to be separated into non-reclassifiable and reclassifiable components. The purposes are to ensure transparent financial reporting, provides a complete picture of financial performance, and to help investors analyze long-term and short-term gains. And here are information to be presented in the profit or loss section of the statement of profit or loss. So we have multiple line items here. The first one is revenue, and the description is it has to be presented separately, and it have many types of revenue. And the next one is finance costs. It is costs related to financing activities, and there are also many types of finance costs. And the next one is share of profit or loss of associates and joint ventures, which is profit or losses accounted for using the equity method. And there are many types of share of profit or loss of associates and joint ventures. The next one is tax expenses. The amount of tax charged to profit or loss. The next one is related. And the next one, we will be talking about information to be presented in other comprehensive income section. So the other comprehensive income section shall present line items for the months of for the period of 8 items of other comprehensive income, excluding amounts in the paragraph. B classified by nature and group into those that, in accordance with other IFRS, will not be reclassified subsequently to profit or loss, and will be reclassified subsequently to profit or loss when specific conditions are met. And the point B, the set of the other comprehensive income of associates and joint ventures accounted for using the equity method, separated into the share of items that, in accordance with other IFRS, will not be reclassified subsequently to profit or loss, and will be reclassified subsequently to profit or loss when specific conditions are met. And the next one, we will be talking about profit or loss for the period. As written in the PDF of IAS1, an entity shall recognize all items of income and expense in the period in profit or loss, unless an IFRS requires or permits otherwise. Some IFRS specify circumstances when an entity recognizes particular items outside profit or loss in the current period. IAS 8 specifies two such circumstances. The first one is the correction of errors. The second one is the effect of changes in accounting policies. Other IFRS require or permit components of other comprehensive income that meet the conceptual framework's definition of income or expense to be excluded from profit or loss. And the explanations are profit or loss for the period, and companies must record all revenues and expenses in the current period unless IFRS allows exceptions. The key points is IAS 8 permit exceptions in two cases. The first one is error corrections, which means past mistakes must be adjusted without affecting current profit or loss. And the second one is changes in accounting policies, which mean financial reports must align with updated standards. Some OCI components may be excluded from profit or loss per IFRS guidelines. And the next one, we will be talking about other comprehensive income for the period, as written in the PDF of IAS1, which is an entity shall disclose the amount of the income tax relating to each item of other comprehensive income, including reclassification adjustment, either in the statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income or in the notes. An entity may present items of other comprehensive income either A, net of related tax effects, or B, before the related tax effects, with one amount shown for the aggregate amount of income tax relating to those items. If an entity elects alternative B, it shall allocate the tax between items that might be reclassified subsequently to the profit or loss section, items that will not be reclassified subsequently to the profit or loss section. An entity shall disclose reclassification adjustments relating to components of other comprehensive income. And for the explanation from previous slide, OCI presentation options: A, net of tax. Tax is directly deducted from each OCI items. And B, before tax, gross amount is shown. Then total tax impact is disclosed separately. If using the option before tax, tax must be allocated to reclassifiable items, for example, unrealized investment gains, and non-reclassifiable items, for example, asset revaluation. And the last one is reclassification adjustments must be disclosed to show how OCI items move to profit or loss in the future. And the next one, information to be presented in the statements of profit or loss and other comprehensive income or in the notes. When items of income or expense are material, an entity shall disclose their nature and amount separately. Circumstances that would give rise to the separate disclosure of items of income and expense include A, write-downs of inventories to net realizable value or of property, plant and equipment to recoverable amount, as well as reversals of such write-downs. B, restructurings of the activities of an entity and reversals of any provisions for the costs of restructuring. C. Disposals of items of property, plant and equipment. D. Disposals of investments, discontinued operations, litigation settlements, and other reversals of provisions. And for the explanation, key items and impact. So the first one is write-downs and reversals. It reflects accurate asset value. And the next one, restructuring and reversals, which mean explain major operational changes. And the next one, disposal of PPA, it clarify long-term asset management. And the next one, disposal of investments, which is to show investment strategy, discontinued operations to separate non-operational business impact, litigation settlements to ensure legal transparency, and the last one is other provisions reversals, is to update financial obligations. And the next one, we will be talking about information to be presented in the statements of profit or loss and other comprehensive income or in the notes. As written in the PDF of YS1, an entity shall present an analysis of expenses recognized in profit or loss using a classification based on either the first one is nature of expense method, aggregating expenses, for example, depreciation, transport costs, employee benefits. And the second one is function or expense method, which is classifying expenses by the functions. For example, cost of sales, administrative expenses. Entities are encouraged to present this analysis directly in the statements, presenting profit or loss and other comprehensive income. And for the explanation from previous slide, so nature of expense method, it groups expenses by type. For example, depreciation, transport, salaries, etc. The pros is easy to understand cost composition, and the cons is lacks connection between expenses and revenue. And for the function of expense method explanation, which is groups expenses by function. For example, COGS or cost of goods sold, admin, and marketing. The pros is better operational efficiency analysis, and the cons, less transparency in expense details. So the next one, we will be talking about statement of changes in equity. As written in the PDF of YS1, it have two parts, which is information to be presented in the statement of changes in equity and information to be presented in the statement of changes in equity or in the notes. So as written in the PDF of YS1, information to be presented in the statement of changes in equity. An entity shall present a statement of changes in equity as required by paragraph 1. Statement of changes in equity includes the following information. A. Total comprehensive income for the period, showing separately the total amounts attributable to owners of the parent and to non-controlling interests. B. For each component of equity, the effects of retrospective application or retrospective statement recognized in accordance with YS 8. C. Deleted. And D. For each statement of equity, a reconciliation between the carrying amount at the beginning and the end of the period, separately as a minimum, disclosing changes resulting from 1. Profit or loss, 2. Other comprehensive income, and 3. Transactions with owners in their capacity of owners. Showing separately contributions by and distributions to owners and changes in ownership interest in subsidiaries that do not result in a loss of control. And for the explanation from previous slide, which is the first one, total comprehensive income. It shows profit distribution between majority and non-controlling shareholders for transparency. The second one, retrospective adjustments, which is disclose accounting changes or error corrections to ensure accuracy. And the third one is equity reconciliation. It explains changes in equity from the start to the end of a period for clarity. And the last one, key disclosures. It includes profit or loss, other comprehensive income, and owner transactions to provide a full picture. And the next one, we will be talking about information to be presented in the statement of changes in equity or in the notes. As written in the PDF of IAS1, for each component of equity, an entity shall present, either in the statement of changes in equity or in the notes, an analysis of other comprehensive income by item. An entity shall present, either in the statement of changes in equity or in the notes, the amount of dividends recognized as distributions to owners during the period, and the related amount of dividends per share. In paragraph 106, the components of equity include, for example, each class of contributed equity, the accumulated balance of each class of other comprehensive income, and retained earnings. And for the explanation from previous slides, which is OCI breakdown, it means other comprehensive income or OCI includes unrealized gain or losses, for example, asset revaluation, foreign exchange differences, and must be reported separately for clarity. And the next one, dividends and distribution. Companies must disclose how much profit is returned to shareholders through dividends to maintain trust and transparency. And equity components, which is equity, consists of share capital, retained earnings, and OCI, all of which should be clearly reported to help investors assess financial structure. And the last part from the IAS1 is statement of cash flows. As written in the PDF of IAS1, cash flow information provides users of financial statements with a basis to assess the ability of the entity to generate cash and cash equivalents and the needs of the entity to utilize those cash flows. IAS7 sets out the requirements for the presentation and disclosure of cash flow information. So that's all from our presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.